Hey, everybody. It's Greg Avola, founder of Untappd, and welcome back to another amazing episode of Virtual Happy Hour. I'm so excited that you're here. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hope you have your beer in hand. We have a great episode today. We're going to talk to the cast of Brews Brothers, a new Netflix series, and we're super excited. It's going to be awesome. So before we start, though, we want to talk about our sponsor for today's episode. It is Postmates. Postmates is the delivery service that you can get, especially in a time like this where you want things delivered to you. And they've definitely sponsored our show today by giving you $100 off your first order. So head over to Postmates, use the code Untappd. If you haven't tried it, you'll get that promo code in there and you'll be able to get that $100 delivery credit. So really cool stuff. So with that in mind, let's kick it off to our guests here. I'll join them all into our feed. We have Mike, we have Alan, we have lots of great people as I find them on my screen here. Thanks, guys, for joining the happy hour. We have obviously Alan in the center here. We have Marques. We have the most lovable character, which is Mike, and we have Carmen as well. Hello, guys.
Greg.
Hello.
Well, obviously, we're here to talk about Brews Brothers, a great show on Netflix here. But I'll let you guys, for those that haven't seen it or haven't seen anything about it, which is crazy in my mind, but let's have somebody tell a little bit about summary of the show and then maybe introduce your characters, each one of you, and we'll go from there.
I nominate Carmen.
No, I knew you were going to do that. I nominate Marques.
I'll do it. I'll do anything.
I knew you were going to do
Marques.
What's up, guys? I'm Marques. I'm about 5'10", 5'11". We had to do a little trickery on set to make me look shorter.
Move past the height stuff. Move past the height stuff.
I just really want to get out there that I'm 5'10".
What's the show about, Marques?
Yeah, tell us about the show, Marques.
It's about this tall guy who comes in. He's like a janitor. He gets in there and he makes a lot of friends and a lot of money. And that's me in real life.
Everyone's like, damn, that guy's tall. What is he, 5'10"?
Carmen.
Brothers is about two brothers who run a brewery together, and their employee Sarah and their other employee Chewy, and the crazy antics that they get into, and they are all above the height of 5'10".
Nice.
Awesome. It's an 8-episode series on Netflix. Super exciting, super fun. It launched on April 10th. Is that right?
Yeah.
And you can watch all the episodes now. Now is a better time than anything else to watch streaming stuff. So hope you check it out. So obviously, with all of our virtual happy hours, the best thing we do is we drink beer. So before we kind of get into the cracking of the beer, why don't we go around and talk about the beers that we're having here, and then we'll get into some questions and answers. So I'll start. This is called The Hook. It's a brewery from Carton Brewing Company. They're located in Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey. One of my personal favorites that's out there. This is an American pale ale beer, about 5.5%. And I've been salivating over it since we got on the show and watching it about. So, Alan, what do you got in your hand?
I have Glutenberg. I have celiac disease, so I can't drink beer anymore. So this is a gluten-free pale ale out of Quebec, Canada. It is what is this? 5.5%. And they're very good, and they don't make me feel awful at the end. So I love them.
Yeah, I have a good friend who has celiac, and he actually says those are the best gluten-free beers out there. So you got a good one in your hand. What about you, Marques?
Oh, classic. Oh, there it is. Modelo.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
I'm
Brewed at home.
Yeah. I usually don't have the Latino beers on hand, but I was like, you know what? For this show, I'll do anything to get my 5'10" status and my Latino-ness.
Awesome. What about you, Mike? What are you drinking?
I'm working with two different beers tonight. I got one that's a local India LA woman, it's called. Let me just rotate it there.
I like that.
LA woman, 6.8 ABV. It's very hoppy IPA, which is obviously running counter to the taste of my character on the show. But so to be more like the character, I also have a Framboise, which I think is like a 5% ABV. It's a Belgian Lambic. Yeah, 5%. I can go on if you want me to keep talking about it.
I think you got two options there. We have to get those all in there. You're good. I appreciate that. What about you, Carmen? What are you having?
Ooh, I am drinking the Arrogant Bastard Ale. It is 7.2% alcohol. I just like the label. I know I'm gonna be messed up.
You're gone.
I'm going hard. But yeah, No, yeah, we'll see how it tastes. I don't really like IPAs. I'm not a big happy kind of gal, so we'll see.
There we go. All right, let's crack a Moken, fellas and ladies, and pour them into your glasses if you want. And then we'll get a nice cheers shot for the folks on the internet because they like those kind of things. So, so if you're out there right now, make sure you crack your beer and let's raise it up and do a little cheers to everybody. If we can get someone over there opening up their bottle correctly. There we go.
Oh,
cheers,
come on.
everybody.
I was scared.
Cheers. Awesome.
Is this? Let's be honest. Is this everybody's first beer of the day?
Sir, no, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I work for a beer company, so I'm obligated to say it's not. So
yeah, we would lose all respect for Greg if he said it was his first beer.
Cool. So if you're out there right now, make sure you check in your beer on Untappd while you're drinking at this point. You also want to tag Untappd at home. It's really important in this time of need that we all practice social distancing and drinking from home. And then we have a special venue, a global venue you can tag when you check in your beer. So make sure you use that. Also, make sure you tag us with the hashtag Untappd Happy Hour, and we're going to retweet it and share it on our social channels. So that's a great way to kind of keep engaged in the community and whatnot. So we're super excited you guys are here. So let's get some questions here, because obviously the more beer that flows, the better the questions will be answered, I assume. So obviously, you know, just to start here from a general question for all you guys, were you fans of the beer and brewing before you got all together? What's your kind of backstory within that situation?
I grew up on the south side of Chicago, where alcoholism is kind of like part of the cultural identity. And so I grew up with a healthy dosage of figuring out how to be a functional alcoholic. And so since I was like 15, I've loved a nice high ABV pretentious beer. So yeah, I've always loved beer, and I stay away. I basically have the same taste as my character.
It's like I'm watching the show right now.
No, I know it's hell. It's hell, especially because on set of the show, people would go, "Oh, Adam's so annoying," and I go, "Yeah, yeah, I don't relate to this shit at all."
I like it. Very cool. What some of your favorite beers that you guys have tried? Obviously, doing the show in the LA area, there's tons of great beers. You guys obviously filmed at a great brewery, and you guys were in Angel City, which is one of my favorites as well. So are there any great beers you guys picked up during this kind of filming, or overall beers you kind of say, that's the one I would always go to when I need to get a beer?
Well, what's the one that you guys fell in love with?
I was just going to bring it up, but I didn't want to make you feel bad.
Don't make me feel awful.
There's this one, it was the Bavik Pills that was at this bar that we go to after filming most nights. That was like a block away from Iron Triangle. And there was this one Pills, and it was just so unbelievable. Oh God, it was so good. And we would just kind of rub it in front of Alan, and he would just sit there and take it like a sweet guy.
Yeah, but everyone, like, it was Marques.
Each person, from the producers down to the very last person, everyone's like, this Bavik Pills. And we would all, if you had to burp, you had to do it directly into Alan's nose.
Which is something I'm into, so it worked out.
Yeah.
What about you, Marques or Carmen? Is there a beer you kind of had during this thing that kind of just blew you away, especially with the culture down there in LA and the brewing industry? Any thoughts on that?
Me first.
Ladies first. I think that's more appropriate, I think, right?
Yeah, go ahead, Carmen.
Wow, chivalry's so much. I don't know. I feel like I graduated college like a year ago, so I feel like I've progressed past the days of like Tecate, shut up, Mike, and Blue Ribbon and those. But my palate's not the best. But I will say I'm kind of a Blue Moon gal. I'll gash. I know Marques likes that one. I dig that.
Well, now
are you more of a wine drinker or more of a beer drinker?
A beer. I was more of a beer. I'm more of a hard liquor kind of gal. I'm not gonna lie here.
Yeah, no.
But you dabble in meth, right?
That's the cool thing about beer, because you have don't know what that was. Okay. But I think that what the key parts of what we do obviously is, there are a lot of different types of flavors in beer. So for hard liquor, there is barrel aged and bourbon barrel aged beer that sometimes people like that are into hard liquor. Personally, I'm like the anti-hard liquor. I can't stand it. Beer is all in my blood or in my veins all the time. So I never really got into the hard liquor side. What about you, Marques? Anything that kind of piqued your interest when you were filming?
Yeah, I do. I'm a hard alcohol guy too. So when I got turned on to the Allagash, the barrel beer stuff, that piqued my interest. And then the high alcohol content made me a better person.
Very cool. Alan, you talked a little bit about celiac and how you were diagnosed right before filming this series. Obviously within the show, I'm assuming you guys didn't drink actual beer. How did that process work? Obviously finding out so close to it, and how did you kind of figure that out throughout the whole process?
Yeah, I the months leading up to the show wasn't feeling amazing, and I went to a doctor, and after a bunch of tests, he told me it's celiac and that I could never drink beer ever again. And then 48 hours later, I got a phone call from two people who I truly consider like icons and heroes of mine, the Schaefer brothers, asking me if I would be the lead in their show about beer, all within 48 hours.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, like I was very excited and told them I had awful news to share with them, but they made it work. We did, seltzer and food coloring. These guys drank O'Doul's or like O'Doul equivalent or adjacent. But the cool thing was, since we were shooting on location at an old brewery, there was actual beer running through the taps.
Right.
For a non-alcoholic beer, and not worry about the other actor having to fake it out for another drink. Like they could just start drinking it and not, it just made the whole thing feel more authentic.
For a little while, I've been floating the idea that the doctor Alan saw was an intervention host of some kind, trying to help him with his rampant alcoholism. And there's a lot of people on board for that claim. So if you want to interview other people, a lot of people are like, yeah, that sounds right.
So I guess during the filming you were actually drinking non-alcoholic beverages, or this was just more seltzer and food coloring. Obviously, a lot of people are watching, these TV shows. People are drinking beer. They always probably wonder, is that really beer from there? What can you share about that?
I can talk a little bit about that one.
Oh yeah, you're really the
I'm really well versed on this topic. So we were drinking O'Doul's, which if you haven't had O'Doul's, do yourself a favor and never have O'Doul's. It is the grossest, in my opinion, the grossest beer.
The show is sponsored by O'Doul's.
Oh, good. Well, who cares?
We're the O'Doul's family.
I'm telling a story.
Sorry.
How long is this story?
Leave her alone, dude. She's hammered.
You guys are peaking. Yeah, 7.2%, man. Okay, listen. It was the second day of set, and I had to do a scene whereby I chug probably about like 8 to 10 glasses of O'Doul, and I didn't make the cut, and I'm a little bitter about it still.
Yes.
Okay. It's fine. And about 2 hours later, I massacred the set with my vomit.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
That's a good
All
story.
the fake beer, the key experience that I had with all of it is it just makes you burp and fart so much. It is like the worst possible. It's like if you distilled regular beer down to just the parts about it you don't like, where they're like, well, what if there's no good feeling and you just feel full and you keep farting and burping?
I felt you guys like would drink a bunch of it and like you felt looser. Like there was
a placebo effect.
I was gonna say it's pure placebo.
Yeah.
At a certain point, I was like drinking it. Wait, this is nothing. What are you doing?
There was one guy, like a background actor, I remember during one of the scenes, and he was like, dude, I'll drink all the beer. I don't care. And I'm like, it's fake. It's fake, man. And he's like, I know. I want it. I'm like, all right.
I was like, no, you don't.
So obviously, one of the things why we got connected, obviously, the third episode you guys mentioned Untappd. And I wanted to hear if you guys had heard of Untappd before this happened, some of your history behind that. And then we're going to play a clip of it so everyone can get really jealous about it. So anyone know really have an Untappd account before this happened, heard about it?
Did, yeah. I would go to bars and like was that guy who would show up to the bar, check in, and then like see what the most popular beers on tap were.
Nice.
And like while everyone else was just going to the bar and asking the bartender, being social, I was there sitting on my phone going, okay. Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of the app before.
Nice.
Correct me if I'm wrong. It started off as a Simpsons app, right? You have like a small town and you click all the things, right?
Yeah.
I loved it when it was just
like
the Simpsons
that.
app.
Yeah. So ultimately,
No, I used to use it as well. I would go to like a random. Go ahead.
Okay. I think we may have lost Tim.
I would go to like a random bar and I would tap to look at what the beers were that people like there, and I would get that beer.
This is what happens when you make a Simpsons joke. You're connected.
Well,
I heard beer at the end.
What's that?
I heard beer at the end.
Yes, that is the part. Ultimately, Untappd was founded back in 2010, and I never in a million years thought that it'd be mentioned on a Netflix show. That's probably the last thing on my list that I thought would ever happen. So it's really cool that you guys mentioned it and obviously part of it. So why don't we play a clip here of where that's mentioned in that show?
Hey, that.
To play it.
Oh.
Hey, that's why they're always trending on Untappd.
What?
It's like Foursquare for beer.
What?
It's an app that lets users check in at breweries and compare beers.
Oh, yeah. I know that.
Do you even know what an app is?
It's a food item that comes on a small plate. Download it onto your phone.
Great. So where are we on Untappd?
It doesn't go down that far.
Yeah, I love it. It was great.
Bravo.
When I got a text,
It's so good. It's so good. I love watching the playback. It's great.
yeah, it must be interesting from your perspective. Watching it as it airs like that, it's got to be a surreal experience for me. Obviously being a founder of the app, it's surreal when I see anyone using it in a bar or restaurant. But now you're kind of the actors behind the show, and you're watching it and you're seeing it. What's that experience like? No words. I got it. Understood. Perfect.
It's the lag. You stand there and you wait for the lag. And you're like,
You repeat the question.
I love it. I find it fascinating. There was someone one of the writers of the show was in the background of that scene, which is a sort of like Easter egg thing I always think when I watch that scene. Is I'm like, oh,
Very
he's in the background there.
Nice. So you guys actually filmed the main Rollins Brewery in, I believe it's Iron Triangle. Is that right?
Yes.
What was it like to kind of spend so much time in the brewery itself and working with the brewery owners to film the series, or how that experience changed from the episode?
I mean, there's something nice about shooting on location, especially with a show like this where you're shooting long takes and really living as the characters and improvising. You don't have to, there are no restrictions since you're in an actual brewery as opposed to a set where on a soundstage where they'll go, okay, we can only see these two walls, and then we're going to put a lauter ton there later, but it'll be CG. Or like here we were in, the floor was sticky, like beer, and we had Kale, who was the former head of Iron Triangle, there pretty much every day so that we could ask questions about how do you pour a beer, what's a joke that we can write here about a certain type of beer, whatever it was. Like, it was nice to just be in the real thing as opposed to some simulated version of it.
Yeah, it was also very helpful in terms of like demystifying it, where I would just go over to Kale and be like, what is this fucking thing over here? And then he would just like walk you through all of it. And really, he was like, and I've learned that this is how a lot of brewmasters are. He's totally down with getting into the weeds, talking about all the specific details of it.
Right.
And so like, I would ask the general question of like, so what does this thing do? And then for like 10 minutes, he would explain all of it. And I'd just be like, awesome. Okay, cool. That's, not necessary for me to know, but I'm happy to know it.
It's also just like surreal being on set, and then at the end of the day, just asking him, "Hey, can I get a 6-pack?" and him telling me no every single time. But I tried.
I also feel like there were like SAG restrictions of some kind that made it so it was like we have to sign out for. It felt like a drug deal. Like we would finish filming, and then he'd be like, "Are you signed out?" And I'd be like, "Yeah," and he's like, "All right, yeah, I can sell you a 6-pack. But we got to do it. We got to go in the backyard." And we're like, "Oh yeah, great." Like hide it in my bag,
And he's in the show. He's in episode 5, and he's so good in it. He
really is very good in his moment. That's really solid.
That's awesome. Yeah, anyone else watching the live stream here, if you have questions that you want to ask the team here, make sure to put them in the chat, and we'll be able to answer them as we move through this awesome virtual happy hour here that we're continuing to drink and be merry. So that's a very cool thing. A lot of people in the chat saying that they love the show. They love that you mentioned Untappd in there. A lot of great stuff that we'll get to in the end of this session here. In terms of being on this show, being so beer heavy, was there any additional training or things you kind of went through to kind of understand the lingo, the hop rarities, things like that you felt was really important for your characters to understand? We all know it's a comedy show, so it's intending to be comedic with those things, but obviously there has to be some element of education here that you had to go through to kind of walk through this stuff. I mean,
Kale gave us like a brewing class on one of our basically the 2 days before we started actually filming, and it was super fascinating. And as I said, deep into the weeds, and he was happy to just explain every single detail. And it made it super interesting stuff, especially I feel like for my pretentious asshole of a character, like it was nice to hear about the minutia of, the recipes and how, the water affects the outcome, how the hops affect it, how every little piece is necessary and, part of the sort of brushstrokes of making a good beer. Yeah.
What about you, Carmen and Marcus? Anything that you kind of picked up on? Obviously, you had different roles within the series, but anything you kind of picked up on that?
Yeah. No. What I was gonna say is that Kale, my character is pretty much me, and I didn't know anything about the brewing process, anything about beer. So Kale was like my introduction, and I remember after leaving that intro class that he gave to us, I was like, whatever. My character doesn't need to know this shit. So and I think Kale picked up on that, and he was like so cool because he found out like other things that I was interested in, and was like emailing me stuff like podcasts on like cybersecurity for my phone and stuff like that. And I was like, dude, this guy is.
I did not like how often when you would walk by him, you'd say stuff like "beer's bullshit." Yeah. I didn't like that, but I'm glad that you guys connected otherwise.
And I would shoot it like this. I go, "Beer's bullshit."
Yeah.
Any big takeaways you've learned from the brewing industry? Obviously, you guys filmed at multiple locations. How did that process work? Did you guys get a chance to talk to the owners there, learn a little bit about what they're doing there? Angel City is the one that comes to mind because it's kind of prominent in the show itself, in addition to the beer festival near the end of the show. But anything you've learned about the takeaways of the brewing industry that kind of shocked you? I'll give you an example. When I went out to California for the first time, I went to Stone Brewing in Escondido, California, a little bit north of San Diego, and it was huge. It was my first brew I've ever been to many, many years ago, and I was blown away about the production size, how big it was, how you didn't really think about that when you're chugging a beer or drinking it. Anything of that nature come up on the show when you guys are going through that?
For me, I didn't realize how meticulous the brewing process is and how many factors can affect the outcome of a beer.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing for me. And then also, another takeaway I had, which was kind of a cool tidbit, was that it was beer was brewed by women, which was kind of badass for a while in medieval Britain. Did anyone
right. Oh, I forgot about that.
But
that's not true. She's making stuff. Yeah. That's not true, guys.
I swear I was in the show.
Can we mute her?
Can we mute her? Well, that's great, guys. Really appreciate it. There's some questions from the fans out there that want to ask. One from Ian. What was your favorite Rodman's beer name, and which one did not make the boards?
Ooh.
Mike has one that's a real throwaway in episode 7. That's Schwarzedong Stout.
Yeah. I was gonna say too. Damn.
So good, but it's kind of. I don't think the camera's even on you. We kind of just hear it in the back. That's my favorite. And then there was one that we cut that I really loved, which was you make me want a stout.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I like your very first joke, out of the jump, in the very first scene, the Rodman Stiff Stout. Yeah. The moment of you going oh, that makes me love that name so much. Yeah. Where it's almost like the name is that it's Rodman Stiff Stout -- oh. Oh,
it's the Rod Guzzler.
Yes.
Even worse. Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
I think Greg and Jeff and the writers had a very extensive Word document of the best puns that they could come up with. I think the brewing community is very, there's a lot of pride around how they make the beer, but also the naming of the beer seems to be as important. And I think these guys took it really seriously and wanted it to feel authentic. So they had hundreds of names.
Awesome.
And the chalkboard changes throughout every episode. If you're watching the show in the background, you can see that all the beers change and there's always new jokes.
That's great.
Well, also Greg Schaefer is a genuine beer lover. Yeah. And so there would be, they let us improvise a lot. And if you said something that was not true in some way about a beer, Greg would come over and be like, "Oh, super, super funny. You can't say that. That's not what an IPA, it wouldn't look like that." So yeah. So just don't say that.
Another question we have here from Brandon. Ethan, what was your favorite guest star to work with on the show?
Toby Huss.
Oh, Toby.
Toby
my God.
Yeah.
But there were so many great ones.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, I really enjoyed Matthew Glaive, who was the owner of, Tempest,
He was
buying us out. I found him to be amazing. And, I like saw him in The Wedding Singer when I was like a teen, a kid, so it was really fun to get to act opposite of him while wearing a monocle.
Zach Reno.
Zach.
Who,
I don't count them. I don't count. They
I
feel
don't
like
count them either.
like Mitch, like Mike Mitchell. Yeah, they're.
Yeah, I go, he's a set piece. He lived there.
He lived there.
Another question from Jared. What's the nerdiest thing you think that is referenced in the show? Because obviously there's a lot of discussion from Mike's character here on brewing process. What's the nerdiest thing that you kind of read and you're like, I don't even know what I just said?
cough syncope.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, because you could not say that.
Shut up. There's probably about 10 takes, and I think Mike ended up having to feed me the line. Just said,
yeah, but I think I kept intentionally giving you the wrong pronunciation.
That was really nice of you.
Yeah. There was a lot of it, like a bottle conditioned saison to describe my edging experience or whatever. I was like, bottle condition. We would like talk about all this all the time. I was like, well, what exactly does that do? Just so I can, understand what nasty thing I'm saying. But a lot of our discussions about using a bottle versus using a can actually affected my real life perspective. Where afterward, now I look at a can, I go like, yeah, it fucking ruins the taste though, man. You don't want to use a can.
You're breaking the character.
Yeah. Or I hear Chewy say, the only cans I like are shaped like bottles.
And obviously, Marcus, there are some many scenes that you were in where you were all over the place, whether you were inside of the doing stuff. You had a stunt double, I assume. It wasn't you getting down there and dirty, I assume, or whether it was, or was that you actually climbing out of these things?
I had a stunt double for sure, and if I could find the picture, I'm gonna send it to you because it looked nothing like me, but he was 5'10". And he,
so you were both 5'10", so you had that.
Both 5'10". But I sent him home because I did my own stunts, and I keep bragging about it on my gram that I do my own stunts, guys.
Were those all
moment when you're getting pushed by
actually
the truck and you're in that chair? I find it stressful to watch. When you're supposed to be, saving the spot and you get pushed. Every time I watch, I'm like, he's gonna get crushed.
That was a stunt double. That was a stunt double.
No, that was me, babe.
No, really? Wait, what?
Baby.
Oh no, it was.
Yeah,
it was. I sent him home. I told you.
I underestimated.
That's awesome. Some of the other comments that are coming in, considering the risque content of the show, was there a particular scene that the group was hesitant to film?
No,
Everyone is game for everything.
You trust, it's all like when you trust your boss and the showrunners so much, that they're not going to make something that's bad. So
it was also kind of like, it felt like any of the weird or gross or fucked up stuff that we would do, especially that Sarah and Wilhelm characters were so disturbed by it that it felt like it was like, adjusting the interpretation of it, like when it's like the kids filling the dildo bottles. I was just like I remember saying to Mark, like, oh my God, dude, this is crazy. And then a key to it was that both of their characters were like every shot of them throughout it, they are so shocked and disturbed by it that I was like, this is.
But the best thing of that day was that I accidentally ended up cursing in front of these 10-year-old boys.
Oh, boy.
They walked away and told their parents and reenacted the moment. And I was like, guys, that's the worst thing you did today. Really?
That was definitely an interesting scene, to say the least, watching it through.
None of us can run for public office because we were in that.
Well, yes.
We'll do one more question here. Obviously, you guys had a great time. You have a great connection with all of each other on the show. What's your favorite episode that you guys had gone through? There's 8 of them, so pick one out there, all of you guys, and put you on the spot here and make your brain hurt in terms of your favorite episode. I mean, I'll go first because it's easy for me. Episode 3, because that's where Untappd mentioned. That's all. So, who wants to start here?
Probably Monday.
I was at the beer tasting.
Who's going first? Who's doing it?
Oh, he's gone.
That was great right there. We just made that happen there.
Oh no,
Mike, you go first.
Just the beer tasting scene, just Flula describing, like with hints of like the snake trying to tempt them in the Garden of Eden, like all that shit I found just very funny. And then getting my character to be hammered at the end and all of that I found extremely fun. Plus at the end I get to kiss Zach Reno, which is a career goal of mine. So that's great.
What about you, Carmen? I'm going to put you on the spot here. What do you think?
Yeah, please do. I think for me, it was like the art freak out. Like selfishly, that is my favorite episode. Just because
it's so good.
Really got to destroy an entire art studio. And we had there wasn't many takes we got, but we just nailed it. And it was the funnest, most cathartic experience of my life. And they actually, because I'm from Topanga Canyon, and they actually changed the location of the art studio to be where I'm from, I was quite honored.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Also, with that, I was just wrapped right before that scene of you doing the art studio stuff. I had shot my last scene, and it really felt to me like evidence of how much I loved working on the show and how much I love everyone who's doing it. I just stuck around and just watched that you filmed for like 4 hours. I was like, this is great. And then someone would be like, is there anything like you want to add? I was like, no, I just love it. It's really great.
What about you, Marcus?
To be honest, all of them were my favorites. Every single one of them.
Wow, take a real risk with that honesty there.
But I will give you a nug here. My least favorite was when we had to shoot in the cockroaches.
The same scene I just said.
What?
It's the same episode. That the end of the episode is the cockroach thing that happened. Do you want to explain what was happening?
That's when you hook up with Becky in the truck, and me and Flula are left on the street eating your food.
Yeah.
We shot that late at night, downtown LA, next to a real dumpster.
Yeah.
Real food that real cockroaches wanted. And we had to sit through it. We did it.
I want to describe one bit of movie magic that happened then, which was that as we're sitting there, we start to see these cockroaches, and we're all like, there are cockroaches here. And they're like, so we just got to go fast. We got to go fast. And so we get through it as fast as we can. We, finish like one part of the coverage of that. And then as we're setting up for like the next segment, we look at the prop beer and the prop food that's there, and it's just cockroaches. And so then the prop people come over and they take all of it and they just throw it away. Like they throw out the baskets, they throw out the fake, the food and all this stuff. And then they replace it with obviously identical, replicas of that same stuff. And then they give it back to Flula and they give it back to Marcus. And they're like, yeah, so drink this, eat that. Even though we had all just watched what appeared to be exactly that, having cockroaches crawling all over it. And so to watch them then riff while they're eating it, I was off, I was over to the side. And I was just like, this is hell. This is hell to watch this. It's so sick.
What about you, Alan? What's your favorite episode?
I go back and forth, but I think right now it's Monk Monday. I think like the show at that point really figures out like how insane it wants to get. And I think the moment of Carmen running in, allergy.
Yeah.
I hired you. Marcus running through trying to drink his beer while there's a full out brawl happening.
Tight.
And then Mike easily, like Mike was professionally waterboarded for this show. Like that episode is really the one that I think right now I'm just like, oh, that's an insane episode of television, and I can't believe we got to make it.
Especially just in terms of mental and emotional damage.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Well, I want to thank everybody here, Alan, Marcus, Mike, and Carmen. Thank you so much for joining in the show. I really appreciate it. Just want to tell everybody about some of the upcoming shows we're going to be having. Next Thursday, we're going to have John Hall, who is an author and a beer journalist, on the show, talking about his impact on the industry. And then this Saturday, we're going to have my good old friend Augie Carden, who makes this beer that I'm drinking. I'll be on the show at 2:30 as well. So make sure to head over to untappd.tv and subscribe. This is not a YouTube video, so just subscribe. We're not going to smash any like buttons here or anything of that nature. But we really appreciate you guys being on. I want to say one more last thing about our sponsor tonight. It's going to be obviously for Postmates. If you didn't hear it earlier, Postmates delivery service, and especially in COVID-19, important to get those food you need. So make sure you use the code Untappd to get $100 off your delivery credit for first-time users. So check it out. Postmates Untappd is the code for $100 delivery credit. So we appreciate it. Thanks for supporting the show. And thanks to all you fine gentlemen and ladies. We really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time, and stay safe.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.